Broadcasting from the KMF Collective Studio, it's time for the Keep Moving Forward podcast. Join us every week as we dive into the stories of remarkable current and former athletes that have transitioned into the real world. Now here's your host, Katie Galley.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the 225th episode of the Keep Moving Forward podcast. I'm your host, Katie Galley. In the KMF Collective Studio with me today, I have owner and head coach at One Fellowship Fitness in Roswell, Georgia, Clay Godfrey. How are you doing, Clay?
I'm doing good, Katie. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. I'm really excited to dive into a conversation with you, learn more about you, and ultimately how you, of course, founded One Fellowship Fitness. But to start, Clay, just to get to know your background a little bit, can you share with us where you grew up and how, if at all, was your childhood shaped by athletics?
Yeah, I can do that. So I grew up in Conway, South Carolina, and kind of like the small towns that surround Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So Conway, and then like my middle school, high school years was in a town called Pawleys Island, South Carolina, and they're only separated about like 45 minutes apart. But both just small towns, right there on the coast. And when I was growing up, I've always been like smaller than most people, so. I played some sports, but mainly I just played a ton outdoors. I didn't really start playing organized sports until middle school. And I played just like a number of things, like I played some rec basketball. And then it wasn't until high school I started wrestling. And that was where like I really found like what I really enjoyed doing. I always loved basketball, but I'm short and I can't jump very fast, or jump very high and I can't run very fast. So wrestling was much better because I could keep people closer to me and didn't have to worry about that. So I did that and started doing high school weightlifting when I was like my sophomore year. So I started like weight training and everything like that, mainly just because I was a little skinny kid. So I wanted to, get big arms so I can impress girls.
Right, of course.
Yeah, like normal things. Like it wasn't because I loved to exercise at that point in time. It was more like, all right, I love what exercise made me look like.
Yeah.
So I went from there. Then from high school, I moved down to Charleston, South Carolina, and that's when I went to the Citadel, and that's the military college there. So I started training more leading up to that, so I could, it's a you have to do like PT tests and you have to be like a certain like level of fitness and everything, just like you would be in the military. So just like getting prepped for that. And then while I was there, going through their normal PT and regimented training and everything. So I ended up getting, I think my freshman year at the Citadel, I put on about 12 pounds, 15 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think I came in at a very heavy 142 pounds. And I finished my freshman year at I think 155. I started out with that, and then from there, I played a ton of sports there, just because the intramurals are really competitive because of the companies that you're placed in. So each company kind of goes head to head with each other, and there's sports year round, just like there would be at any college. But we played for a intramural cup, and my junior year we won it. So,
what sports did you play for intramurals? What sports did you play?
The main ones I did was we played flag football, ultimate frisbee. Let's see, we had basketball. There was 5-on-5 and 3-on-3. I played some of that.
Got to play basketball again. That's fun.
Yeah, I was able to play a little bit there, and I'm trying to think of some other main ones that we did. There was soccer. I wasn't good at soccer, so I didn't play those. I played like if we needed a man, but I'm just bad. So, if it's defense, I'm okay. But if you want me to do anything with the soccer ball besides just like quickly get it to someone, So pretty much
useless for anything other than like a quick pass of the soccer ball.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Kicking's not really my strong point, so unless I could run and body up the person, which kind of the wrestling kind of came into.
Right.
I couldn't really do anything with kicking. So, yeah, I did a lot of that. So that's kind of where like my fitness really started to kind of take shape, and really where I started to find that I was like actually like kind of deeply interested in one, like myself seeing how good a shape I could be in, and then also like trying to help other people get in shape, because I think it was my sophomore year there is when we started playing around with CrossFit and trying to figure it out. And that next summer is when I joined. It's like the summer in between sophomore and junior year. That was when I actually joined a CrossFit gym, and yeah, I went full blown headfirst into the CrossFit world, because I joined in May of 2013 a gym, and then in August of 2013 I already went to get my L1.
Oh wow! So you just jumped right on that train, drank the Kool-Aid.
Yep.
Fell in love with CrossFit. And so Clay, I mean, back when you, of course, first, like you said, loved playing all different sports, but then really took a liking to wrestling and discovering weightlifting, but then ultimately leading up to deciding to go to the Citadel. Why did you choose to go to that school? Did you have any aspirations to maybe try and continue your wrestling career there?
So my initial interest to go to the Citadel was because I thought about potentially wrestling in college. And I quickly realized I was not good enough to wrestle in college, at least not like in a good wrestling program. I would have needed to go to like a D3 school.
Nothing wrong with D3 though. Just putting that out there.
No, not at all. But I just realized most of the guys that were going to be wrestling in college had been wrestling from when they were like probably 6 or 8 years old.
Right.
And just way more skilled than I was, and I didn't pick up wrestling till my sophomore year of high school. So I realized I just wasn't going to be cut out for that. So decided that from there, it was a good option for me to go. I'm born and raised from South Carolina, so there's a lot of South Carolina heritage and tradition there. And I especially when I was younger, I liked to get in trouble a little bit. So I thought the discipline and regiment would probably be good for me without the normal freedoms of normal college.
And so did you? You said like the history and everything that goes along with going to the Citadel, but did you ever want to be in the military?
I had initial interest. I looked into it when I was a freshman there in my NOB year. So I have what's called Crohn's disease, which is like a inflammatory bowel disease.
Yeah.
So thankfully I'm on good medicine, and the medicine works really well for me, so I can live a pretty much normal life. But when it goes to the military, I would really have to try and jump through a lot of hoops and get a lot of clearances to be able to be active duty. So like at the best, I think they would allow me to be reserves or maybe like National Guard or something. Not that there's anything wrong with those. It's just with how I like to do things, I wouldn't want to be like held back. I'd always want to just go like, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it all the way. So once I realized how unlikely it was that I'd be able to be active duty and do the things in the military that I'd want to do, I ended up just passing on that opportunity.
Yeah. And that, that makes sense. Having that kind of fervor, saying, if you're going to decide to do something, wanting to go all in with it, go all the way. So, then kind of diverting your focus and your energy into other things. And like you said, you're kind of always laying that base of discovering a love of fitness and health and helping other people. But you said it started to really take shape then coming into your sophomore year. So when you did discover CrossFit, how did that come about? Did somebody introduce it to you?
So it was, sophomore year, I kind of gotten tired of the normal like bench press and bicep curl routine.
Yeah.
And I was trying to look for something else to kind of make my, general exercise like more exciting. And I had some friends that we were we all worked out together, and we were kind of trying to find something new for us to do. And we had a few friends that were at the Citadel with us that had done CrossFit a little bit before. So we started, finding workouts to do. And we would do, this was before they like put a ton of Olympic bars and bumper plates in there, but we would figure out our own ways to do CrossFit workouts in like a kind of a Globo gym style, situation.
Mm-hmm.
And, so we started picking up, doing our own workouts, and we kind of went from there.
So what was it about CrossFit that really, I mean, you said you had gotten kind of tired of just doing that same routine of lifting, but was there something specific about the sport of CrossFit that really caught your eye and made you decide, I want to go all in with this, I want to try it out?
Well, yeah, so when I started CrossFit, or like it wasn't until I went and joined a gym that after my sophomore year that I actually like got like what CrossFit was. We've done our own workouts, but that's not really like what CrossFit is. You're just doing like a high intensity workout.
Yeah.
I was a 19-year-old kid working out with at the 8 a.m. class. So I was working out with, moms and dads that were in their 40s, 40s and 50s. And it was just a lot of fun to see how hard they were working, like how rewarding it was to, get fitter, because it was immediately applying to, them being able to, perform better in like their everyday lives. And so that was when I really started to love it. It was like, it didn't, it wasn't just, beach muscles. It was like, the whole community. It's like the same stuff that everybody falls in love with CrossFit once they find it. It's the community, it's the camaraderie of everybody being together and pushing ourselves hard. And it doesn't matter like your age or your gender or your ethnicity or whatever. Just come in and work hard.
Heck yeah. Yep. CrossFit is a great sport for that. And then too, like you said, I mean, it wasn't just that you loved physically what it was doing, being an athlete and competing, but being able to see people at any age really excelling and what it could do for those individuals. And then I guess prompting you to want to sit for your level 1. So those couple months later, sitting for your L1, did you have a desire at that time to start coaching, or was it really just wanting to focus in on being an athlete?
It was kind of both. Like I wanted to be an athlete because it was like another outlet for me to compete.
Yeah. And
then I remember just being in classes, and one of the, moms that I used to work out with, she's like, you would be a good coach at this. Like you kind of come to it naturally. And I at the time didn't even know what a CrossFit level 1 was. And so they told me about it. I talked to the owners of the gym, and they said, yeah, you should go do it. And yeah, so I, at that point in time, didn't have bills, and I had a lot of expendable income from waiting tables. So I went and signed up for one and went and took it, I think August like 25th or something like that of 2013.
Man. And so, I mean, having someone kind of pour into you and encourage you and say, hey, I think you'd be good at this, but then you had already had that interest and that passion, so it kind of lended to it and allow you to really go down that path. And so at that same time pursuing both coaching and being an athlete, in the athlete side of it, did you see yourself wanting to go to the CrossFit Games, see how far you could go as an athlete, or was it really just growing as an athlete so that you could be a better coach, or was it both?
It was a lot of both.
Yeah.
So, the ultimate decision to like kind of pour more into CrossFit was, my sophomore year, my first 2 years at the Citadel, I was a history major, and I knew I wasn't really going to do anything career-wise with that. Mm-hmm. And it was when I found CrossFit that I wanted to completely switch gears, and I changed my major to exercise science. And that was what I got my degree in. So, it was like a full-fledged switch once I started CrossFit, to like my life was going to be centered around exercise and health and wellness and those sort of things. And I wanted to be able to help people while also, inspiring my own ambitions with my competitive career. I initially had aspirations to go to the games, and then as I started my competitive training, realized how much further I had to go. And I think at best I was like, I could probably make it to regionals. Mm-hmm. But by the time I got to where I could maybe make it to regionals, that's when they got rid of regionals. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. That's tough. I mean, being set on this journey and thinking, okay, I want to see how far I can go athletically with this sport. So, in the midst of that, when they did get rid of regionals and seeing, I guess, having that realization of, okay, do I want to really keep going down this path, or should I start focusing in more on coaching? How challenging was it for you in the midst of that?
I find I've always been able to. I feel like I've been always been able to like separate my own like competitive aspirations with also like the coaching side, understanding that just because I want to be able to, run super fast and heavy, like lift all these weights for a competitive reason, the same people want to come to class and want to, try to achieve those things for them personally, for their own personal reasons, and don't have to be competitive aspirations. So, I felt like they both kind of worked hand in hand. The better I got as an athlete, the more knowledgeable I got.
Yeah.
It helped my coaching. The more I learned on like how to pace workouts or how to strategize, I find I was able to, kind of relate to people and give better, just do my job better as a coach.
Mm-hmm. And that's, really interesting, because it makes a lot of sense that if you grew as an athlete, you gain more knowledge, like you said, and you're able to implement that knowledge and hand it off to the people you get to coach. But I think, too, coming from a background as an athlete, the more competitive you get, it might even be harder to coach and to implement that knowledge. So how did you go about kind of keeping those two worlds separate? How were you successfully able to do that?
I wasn't always successful. You get it. Sometimes it would get tough because people. The biggest thing it took for me to realize was that people just want to come and have a good workout and have like the best hour of their day.
Yeah,
and that doesn't always mean them coming in and going for a PR or them, crushing themselves in a hard workout. Sometimes that just means they need to come, try to get a good sweat in and really just spend some time with people. Mm-hmm. And so, initially there was some frustration there because, from the competitive side, you want to come and bring your A game every day. And, some people have, kids and it's like very stressful jobs. And so they don't want to come and bring their A game. They just want to be there. They've made it to the gym, which is their biggest goal. And from there, they just want to have a good workout and feel like they did something worth doing. Mm-hmm. So like once I kind of clicked in me that, they're there to get better, but it doesn't always mean they have to be, willing to like push their limits as hard as they can every day. It was easier and just trying to figure out, how to get the best out of them, even when they're not ready to push themselves as hard as they want to.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Finding that happy medium, because it's from the athlete perspective, especially in the sport of CrossFit, it's easy to look at it as you have to give it your all every time you come in the gym. You got to be falling on the floor. But then too, like you said, when your initial steps into CrossFit, even though you found a really competitive outlet, you were surrounded by individuals who were moms and dads and later on in life. So maybe they didn't have that competitive drive or did not have a desire to end up flat on the floor after a workout. They just wanted to come in, get a good sweat in so that they could carry on for the rest of the day and set them up for success.
Yeah, exactly. Once you realize that, they want to be fit like you want to be fit, but their goals are a little bit different. But ultimately, everybody wants to come and come do their best, and whatever their best is can vary by, goals or by, the energy they have that day. And it's just the same as an athlete, but just the goals are different. So once you just realize they're all there, everybody's there for the same reasons, it's just the goals are a little different. I feel like you get a little bit more compassion.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective, because everybody comes in there with something different. And so then, Clay, for you started off on that journey, 19 years old, going right in to get your level 1 almost immediately. So how did then that set you up going down that coaching path? You got your level 1. Did you immediately then have a desire to one day ultimately own your own gym, or what path did you start to take?
I wasn't sure if I wanted to own my own gym just yet. I think as I started to coach CrossFit more, I kind of developed those ideas. But my CrossFit coaching story, I feel like is like the one you always hear. Like I started from nothing and ended up, like with the, head coach position to manager position to now owning a gym. So I had to take a little break from school my junior year. And when I did that, that was like right at the same time I'd got my L1. So I reached out to a number of gyms in Charleston, and I got in touch with Robert Van Newkirk, who's the owner of CrossFit Discovery in Charleston. And I went to him and I said, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just got my L1 and I'd like to be a CrossFit coach. I was like, I'm in college, so I don't have a ton of money. I was like, could I clean the gym? Whatever it is, I just would like to learn. And Robert started CrossFit Discovery out of his garage in 2009. And at that point, he had a pretty successful gym and had, at that time, 2 locations. And so, he said, if you could clean the gym like twice a week and just whenever, we can set up some times for you to start shadowing. And that's what it did. I cleaned the gym to cover my membership, and then I started shadowing him and some other coaches, and that eventually led to the opportunity where I got to coach, 1 class a week, and it was their lowest attended class. And then that, just rose the opportunity of people had needed coverage. So then I was able to pick up another class, and then no one wanted to coach the 6 a.m. So I started coaching those.
Yeah.
And, it went to, they, brought me on part-time, and I kept, helping out their community until I graduated. And then once I graduated, they hired me as a full-time coach. And then once, at the time, their head coach of their downtown location left to go open his own gym. And when that happened, I got promoted to the head coach of that location. So I would help out at their downtown location and then go help out at the main location as well. So I progressed all the way to that, and I was there until I think 2017 or 2018. And then that was when me and my girlfriend Emily moved to, we moved here to Georgia, and that was, I got hired by CrossFit Dunwoody as their head coach and manager. And then we went from there, and back in October, we left there, and I ended up starting One Fellowship Fitness January 1 of 2020.
Heck yeah.
2020.
Best gym there is.
That's right. Well, maybe not, but we'll get there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, though, too, your story, Clay, is such a testament to the fact, like you said, you don't just start out owning a gym. I mean, I guess you could, but you have to kind of figure your way out, and you have to earn it and learn your way through the sport. And so you started off cleaning the gym and then taking on the classes that nobody else wanted to take. So you have to build your way up, learn everything that you possibly can, and then ultimately, like you said, be earning the spot of being a head coach and manager. And so before you started, of course, One Fellowship this past year, can you maybe go into what is the difference between you were just coaching and being a part of the gym to being a head coach and manager? What was the difference between those two roles?
Just more responsibility, and you get a little bit more insight onto what it's like to run the gym on the back end. You're just, when it goes from just a normal coach to now a head coach and like a manager, you go from all right, I just have to coach my 1 hour of the day. And, you're kind of just there for that 1 hour. You're not really there for the big picture. And so when you get, or at least for me, when I got bumped up to the head coach and manager position, you were now, a figurehead of the community. So, you really had to lead by example, or, lead the herd.
There you go.
if you will. And, trying to help the community grow, and then also just making sure to, be the right example for everybody. So just more responsibility on that end versus just being in charge of your one class or each time you coached or something like that.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, growing in the community, being more known and having that more responsibility. And so ultimately when you started to coach and be the head coach at CrossFit Dunwoody, was that what ultimately brought you to Atlanta in the first place? Yeah.
So I kind of run my course at CrossFit Discovery, just with the amount of responsibility I wanted. And, we just kind of hit the ceiling on what I was going to be able to do there. And Emily, my girlfriend, she is in finance, so we needed to move to like a larger city, so that way she could get a big financial work for a big financial company. And thankfully, because of CrossFit, it's universal, so I could go anywhere in the whole world or anywhere in the country and find a job, basically.
Right.
So we figured it out ourselves, like between us, where we wanted to go. Initially, we were going to go to New York,
Wow.
and that was the initial plan, because that's where Emily's from, and ended up changing our minds, and we came to Atlanta instead. At that time, I was working with Training Think Tank.
Okay.
With Coach Mike McGoldrick. That was who was my coach for almost 3 years, for like my competitive training. And so I would make trips when we were in Charleston every couple of months for a weekend to Training Think Tank here in Alpharetta, Georgia. And so we were already coming here a good bit, and Emily's aunt and uncle live here, so we had family and we had some ties here. So we ended up deciding to come here, and we through friends of a friends, I ended up getting in touch with the owner of CrossFit Dunwoody and ended up getting a job. And so we moved here, and Emily got a job at Ernst & Young, and that's how we got here.
And of course, it worked out great because it ultimately led you to where you are now in opening One Fellowship Fitness. And so from the time that you left CrossFit Dunwoody and then opening up One Fellowship Fitness, what was that journey like? What made you decide that you wanted to own your own gym?
So CrossFit Dunwoody, I got a little bit more responsibility and a little bit more management experience as far as, like member retention and, just working with a lot more things on the back end and what goes into, keeping the doors open and the lights on of a gym. So I knew we were getting closer to I was getting closer to where I wanted to own a gym, and I was getting more comfortable with the idea that I think believing that I could open a gym and be prepared and do it the right way. And so we got I coached at CrossFit Dunwoody for about 18 months, and in that time helped them double their membership and really helped them build a good community over there. And we just kind of got to a point where, kind of like at the previous gym, I'd reached kind of the potential that the kind of ceiling of where my job could go without more money or more responsibility. And so decided it was time for us to part ways, and then started to see kind of what my options were. And initially, when it came to opening One Fellowship Fitness, it was previously it was CrossFit Remnant and Travis Shepard owned the gym, and I initially approached Travis with the idea that I would be his full-time manager because he had another job and he also had 2 kids as a single dad.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, I can fully manage location, and Travis had got to the point where he's like, I got all this other stuff going on in my life. He's like, what would you say to buying the gym? And that was initially not something that I had thought about, but I talked with Emily and kind of saw what it was going to take to open our own gym and everything. And mind you, this was in November of 2019. So, not a lot of preparation, beforehand. And, so we made the decision, I think right before Thanksgiving, that we were going to get the gym, and we were going actually on a trip to go see Emily's sister who was studying abroad in Edinburgh, Scotland. And we didn't even have a name, before that trip. I was like, all right, well, we've decided that we're going to buy the gym from Travis. I was like, I know I don't want it to be CrossFit Remnant anymore, just because that was Travis's, mission. That was his core values and everything. It just, not that it wasn't good. It was great mission and core values. It just wasn't my own. So I wanted something that was my own creation and my own brand and my own vision.
Right.
So yeah, I remember we figured out the name on. I think we had a 3-hour layover in JFK Airport while we were trying to fly to Edinburgh, and that was where we figured out the name. And over the flights and while we spent time in Scotland, we figured out what our logo was going to look like. We figured out what our core values were going to be, what our mission statement was going to be, And when we got back, the very beginning of December, we kind of hit the ground running, trying to get everything put together so January 1 we could open our doors.
There you go. I love it. Just like you said, deciding you're going to do something and just going all in, going all the way, figuring it out. And so, Clay, then how did you, what does the name One Fellowship Fitness mean?
So, CrossFit's, the big thing that always gets people to stick around at CrossFit or gets people in the, that everybody falls in love with. Everybody likes the hard workouts in a way, but hard workouts are hard and they're not always that enjoyable to be doing at, when you're in the middle of them. But what keeps people sticking around is the community. Mm-hmm. And that's what everybody always raves about. It's like everybody coming together. Everybody's always working hard and, there's no judgment. No one cares what you look like, where you're from, just come in and work hard and be a good person. And, that's kind of where fellowship came from. Fellowship is, I think fellowship a lot of times gets a religious sort of vibe. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the definition of fellowship, it's, a group of people with like-minded goals that come together to achieve their goals. And that was what, that was a word that was, I felt like a more encompassing and a stronger, kind of like a stronger field than just community. You can find community anywhere, but when you come to my gym, we're one fellowship. We're all together.
Mm-hmm. Love that. And I love it is a play on what CrossFit is, but then too, like you said, your own mission and your own view of what CrossFit had done for you in your own life and being able to give that to other people and all your members in your community, in your fellowship. And so then too, of course, the One Fellowship line is lead the herd. And so Clay, what does leading the herd mean to you?
Well, to me, it's, when you lead the herd, you're, it's kind of like you're always just trying to lead by example, whether it's, you're being consistent or you're always being, you're always giving your best effort on that given day. And, your best effort can change given on circumstances and mood, but whatever it is and whatever you got that given day, you're just going to give it. And, when you're leading the herd, you don't always, you're not always just trying to make the easy choices. You make those hard choices that not everybody always wants to make because they are the hard choices, and that goes with like showing up every day or cutting out junk food, and that's just like scratching the surface of what it's like to lead the herd. Yeah.
And I think you touched on it. It's those little tiny things. It's not like you have to bite off this huge chunk and start pursuing it right then and there. It's what are the little things that you can do every single day to start to formulate that mentality in yourself and start doing things and acting as, a leader in the herd.
Right. And that was just something that, I was always raised on. My dad has the saying, I think it's a saying that everybody says, but I just remember being told even when I was little or like every day getting out of his truck to go walk into school. He always say, son, we're leaders, not followers. So, cowboy up and go do what's right when no one else wants to. And I felt like I've always just kind of tried to, walk down the right path. Whether it was being courteous and, courteous to other people or, just trying to be respectful to everybody or, doing the hard things that no one else wanted to do. I think that was part of why I was attracted to the Citadel, because it wasn't, it's the road less traveled. It wasn't, I wasn't going to a normal college where I could party and do whatever I wanted to all the time. I had curfews and I could only go out on the weekends. And even then I had to come back at a certain time and, there's regiment and everything. So, with leading the herd being our brand and one of our taglines, it was easy,
Yeah. It perfectly aligns with your life and the way you've always led it. Like you said, from the things your dad instilled within you to your choice to go to the Citadel, your experience there to being introduced to CrossFit, it made sense. You're on that same mission, so it makes total sense that the gym that you get to open has that same heart and beats with yours. And so Clay, from that, having that the realization of where you wanted One Fellowship to go, where you wanted it to be with its name and its tagline and its mission. Looking forward, I know One Fellowship is new, having just opened it this year and with everything that has gone on this year. But looking forward, where do you hope One Fellowship goes? What are your goals for it?
Well, right now, we just want to, keep doing our part to keep everybody safe and also, keep everybody healthy. We're dealing with a pandemic and we're dealing with a number of other, interesting things going on in the world right now. And we just honestly want to get through this and get to the other side and, keep being, kind of a North Star for everybody. I truly believe that, for most people that are getting sick with COVID, it's because they have underlying health issues, and most of them come from, inactivity or poor diet. So, I just want to right now just get through the other side of this pandemic. And then from there, I would love to, build a really successful gym and hopefully open, a few more, 2 and 3 fellowships.
There you go. 1 fellowship, 2 fellowship, 3 fellowship.
Sound like a Dr. Seuss book.
I was just about to say that. It does sound like a Dr. Seuss book. Well, Clay, you've clearly led a really incredible life. And being so young, being able to open your own gym, everything you've achieved and looking forward, knowing, of course, One Fellowship is going to achieve everything you want it to. You're going to set out and achieve everything you want it to. But I just have one final question that I ask all of my interviewees. What do you want to be remembered for?
That's a tough question. I would love to just have, just a really positive impact on a lot of people's lives. And whether that just means, the great thing about CrossFit and the great thing about, being a part of gyms and the atmosphere that we're in is that you get to see a lot of people, go through complete life changes, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, or, a combination of both and a number of other things. And a lot of people discover their own self-strength and what they're capable of. So I would love to be remembered by people that I helped, I was their North Star and helped them, find the right path and kind of figure out their own strengths. I don't know if that's, I don't know if you can measure that, but I would just love to have, long life-lasting impacts on people. That would make me happy.
Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. To learn more about our guest, check out the show notes at keepmovingforward.us. While you're there, go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter to stay up to date on all things coming out of the KMF Collective Studio. Always remember, you can beat the odds and go the distance if only you keep moving forward.